County State's Attorney Eileen O'Neill Burke talking about a charging decision in a Chicago police-involved shooting of Dexter Reed. Let's listen in.
The entire neighborhood was traumatized. The encounter lasted about a minute and escalated quickly. About 30 seconds after the officers first approached his vehicle, Mr. Reed opened fire, striking one of the officers. Over the next 41 seconds, 107 gunshots rang out. As you will see, it was a terrifying and chaotic scene. When a person is shot and killed by a police officer in Cook County, my office has a statutory mandate to review the investigation and all available evidence and bring criminal charges if they are warranted. In this case, the evidence is clear and overwhelming that we would not be able to meet our burden and secure convictions. Therefore, we will not be charging any of the police officers who were involved in this incident. As is the protocol in an officer-involved shooting, the Illinois State's Attorney Appellate Prosecutor's Office, it's also called ILSAP, reviews our decision based upon the evidence and the law. ILSAP is not affiliated with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office and provides an independent assessment of the law and the facts that are presented. ILSAP has reviewed this case and our decision, and they have issued their opinion agreeing with our decision that the evidence presented does not warrant any criminal charges against the officers. This decision is not reached lightly, nor does it diminish the tragedy that has occurred. But it is unmistakable that Mr. Reed was the first to fire his weapon, a gun he did not legally possess. This action seriously wounded a police officer and set off the initial exchange of gunfire. The evidence also shows that after an 8-second pause, Mr. Reed again engaged in a second round of gunfire. Now I want to be clear about something else. It is not this office's role to examine or cast judgment on police tactics. This is not the appropriate venue to judge whether the officers involved deviated from their training or whether the policies and procedures they trained on are appropriate. There are other avenues for those questions and issues to be addressed. But to the question of whether the officers committed a crime under the Illinois Criminal Code, the answer is straightforward. They did not. ASA McCarthy will take it from here, and we will be happy to answer any questions when she's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam State's Attorney. Good afternoon. My name is Lynn McCarthy. Can everybody hear me okay? My name is Lynn McCarthy. I'm an Assistant State's Attorney, and I'm the supervisor of the Law Enforcement Review Unit. As we present this, as we do this presentation, there are several areas that we're going to cover. We're going to give an overview of the incident. We're going to talk about our office's review process, not only in this case, but in general, how we review officer-involved shootings. We'll talk about the materials that were gathered and reviewed in this incident, as well as the State's Attorney said, show you video. This incident was captured on 5 body-worn cameras, as well as a private residential video. We're going to play clips of those videos during the presentation. We are also going to make this presentation available on our website after the press conference. It will include not only the clips of the videos we're showing that are abbreviated for presentation purposes, but also will include links to the full videos. We're also going to show you the multi-cam presentation, which shows, as the State's Attorney mentioned, all 6, the 5 body-worn cameras and the residential video playing simultaneously. We'll talk about the applicable criminal statutes as well as the case law, and then walk you through the analysis that we did in this case. So on March 21st of 2024, at about 6 o'clock in the evening, near the intersection of Ferdinand and Avers on the west side of Chicago, 5 Chicago Police Department officers who were assigned to the 11th District Tactical Team. They included Officer Gregory St. Louis, Officer Thomas Spanos, Aubrey Webb, Victor Pacheco, and Officer Alexandra Giampapa. The officers were dressed in plain clothes, but were wearing clearly visible vests that were marked with the words police on them. They were in an unmarked CPD vehicle. They were all riding in one tactical vehicle positioned as you see in this graphic. Officer Webb was the driver. Officer St. Louis was the front passenger. Officer Spanos was in the rear driver's side, Officer Pacheco in the middle seat, and Officer Giampapa was in the rear passenger side. They performed a traffic stop at that location of a white Terrain SUV, GMC Terrain SUV. Dexter Reed was the sole occupant of that vehicle, and he was 26 at the time of the incident. After performing the stop, Officer St. Louis, as you can see in the graphic, exited from the passenger side of the squad car and approached on the passenger side of Reed's vehicle. Officer Giampapa approached on the driver's side. As they interacted with Mr. Reed, additional officers ultimately exited their vehicle and also approached the SUV. They all had body-worn cameras on that were activated. During their interaction with Mr. Reed, he was not complying with any of their verbal directions. He had tinted windows on his vehicle, and as they gave commands to raise them up, he lowered them down. He raised them back up and down again. He was asked to unlock the doors and show his hands, and he did not comply with their commands. Due to that lack of compliance, all 5 officers ultimately exited the squad car and approached his SUV. Within 30 seconds of the officers approaching the SUV, Reed fired a gun out of the passenger window and struck Officer St. Louis in his left wrist. Officers then returned fire. There was then a pause of about 8 seconds, followed by another volley of shots. Evidence does indicate that Reed fired again during this second volley. He fired not only out of the passenger side of his vehicle, but also out of the driver's side. Officers fired additional shots. Reed then moved the vehicle forward and crashed into a parked car. He exited the SUV, wedged between his SUV and the squad car, walked to the back of the SUV while crouching down. Additional shots were fired by the officers. He fell behind his SUV, and the final shots were fired by officers. There were a total of 107 shots that were fired during this incident. A total of 26 were fired by 4 of the officers. 96 were fired by 4 of the officers. 11 shots were fired by Dexter Reed. Dexter Reed sustained 13 gunshot wounds, resulting in his death. A gun was found on the front passenger seat of his SUV in the slide lock position. Slide lock occurs when a gun is fired until it is empty. The incident was captured, the shooting incident itself was captured on the BWCs as well as at private residential video. The entire encounter took place in a little more than 1 minute. It was approximately 71 seconds. Within 30 seconds of the officers approaching Reed is when Reed fired first, and then the shooting lasted a total of 41 seconds from the time of Reed's first shot until Reed fired his final shots. One thing to keep in mind is, as we're talking about these times, keep in mind that they're estimates because this incident unfolded so quickly. We're talking about fractions of seconds, sometimes hundreds of seconds, as we talk about the time frame. Our review process is mandated by Illinois statute. The Police and Community Relations Improvement Act, which is also known as PCRIA, is found at 50 ILCS 727, and the statute applies to officer-involved deaths. The statute defines an officer-involved death as any death of an individual that results directly from an action or directly from an intentional omission of a law enforcement officer while the officer is on duty or otherwise acting within the scope of his or her employment. The statute also mandates that the investigators who are conducting the investigation into the incident shall, in an expeditious manner, provide a complete report to the state's attorney of the county in which the officer-involved death occurred. So the process that we follow in our office, not only with the Dexter Reed shooting, but in all police shootings, is when it comes to a Chicago involved officer, we are in contact with the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, also known as COPA. As the state's attorney said, within hours of the incident, they notify us. They provide us with the facts and evidence that are known at the time. We also do a debriefing within several days after the shooting incident. In this case, we met with them 5 days later. During that debriefing, members of COPA are present, members of our State's Attorney Law Enforcement Review Unit are present, as well as representatives from the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI. There are no representatives from the Chicago Police Department involved in that debriefing. During the debriefing, we're provided with an update on the facts and the evidence that is known at that point, as well as shown relevant video footage. We discuss their planned investigative steps. We then maintain contact with them and receive materials on a rolling basis from COPA. We also are notified by the Chicago Police Department Investigative Response Team, which is part of the Detective Division. Again, they notify us within hours of the incident. They provide us with relevant video footage, provide us with updated information. They turn over their file to us once everything is complete, once they have all their final reports. At times, there's additional information requested, as you'll hear we did in this case. There was additional forensic testing that we requested, and we received that information in April of 2025. We also participate in a major case review with members of the Illinois State Police Forensic Science Center. During that meeting, members of the Chicago Police Department are present, along with COPA, State's Attorney, Law Enforcement Review attorneys are present, as well as Illinois State Police Forensic Science representatives. We go through every piece of evidence that was recovered and inventoried and discuss what forensic examinations are going to be conducted on that evidence. In addition to all the physical evidence, we also review all the video footage. As the State's Attorney said, we're going to play some of those videos now. And just as a warning, they are extremely graphic and they are very disturbing. We're going to play the 5 body-worn cameras as well as a residential video. One thing to keep in mind is as we play these clips, you're going to see them over a period of time, but they are not sequential. They were all happening simultaneously. The first video we're going to show, we've inserted a timer in the bottom corner so that you'll be able to see just how quickly these events unfolded. After the body-worn cameras, we're going to show you the multicam format with all 6 clips simultaneously. And again, these clips will be part of the presentation that'll be posted following the conference. A couple of things to look out for on the video footage, things that are most relevant, is that you'll see that Dexter Reed was not complying with the officer's verbal commands, which compromised the safety of the officers as well as other people in this residential neighborhood. The officers reacted to that non-compliance. You'll see that Reed fired first and then fired again during a second volley of shots following that 8-second pause. You'll also see the officer's behavior after the shooting, where it shows it's consistent with their belief that Reed continued to be a threat to them and to others. We're going to start with Officer Giampapa's body-worn camera. We've broken it up into 2 clips. The first will cover the shooting and we'll have that timer I mentioned. It starts when she approaches Reed's SUV on the driver's side, where Reed is not compliant, and it shows again the timing of how quickly it was before he fired the shot, striking Officer St. Louis. The other thing you'll see in this clip is the officer's response to those initial shots and additional shots that resume after a pause. And then you'll see as Reed exited his SUV in a crouching position where you're unable to see his hands.